4 months ago, I fully quit the gym to focus on a new style of calisthenics training. And now I only train at home with a pair of rings and limited equipment. Since then, my upper body has grown the fastest it has ever grown in my 6-year calisthenics journey. And this is not by accident. In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how I use rings to gain strength and size quickly so that you can copy exactly what I do to build muscle with calisthenics. Let's get into it. So the reason why I actually quit my gym membership, because I was not really feeling the same way about training as I did back when I was first starting out with the minimal equipment approach. And the reason why I think this is the best approach to take when it comes to calisthenics is because the progression line is more reliable. When you have limited equipment in your routine, you'll actually build more muscle. So the best piece of equipment to have into your training routine right now, if you haven't already gotten it, is rings. Even though it's just one piece of equipment, you can turn your training fully around with it and basically create a full gym with just the rings. And the reason why I've been promoting ring training on this channel so heavily is because it is the best tool to build muscle the way that I do it. So we're going to get into a 4-step process that I use myself to be able to go from skinny to jacked with ring training. And if you want to do that yourself with a full program where I'm literally going to hold your hand through the entire process, go to the top link in the description to my Jacked by Calisthenics Blueprint program. This is the program where members inside are gaining progress quickly, gaining muscle insanely quickly, because I laid out the blueprint that you need to follow in order to go from skinny to jacked. So if you want to be able to do that within 6 months, the top link is in the description. Step number 1, treat rings like it's a video game. Now the points that I'm going to make is unlike you've ever heard before. If you treat rings like a video game, which I'm about to explain how do you do that, it will transform your body within a couple of months. And you might think, okay, a couple of months is like insanely fast, right? But I genuinely mean this is going to transform your physique. It's going to change how you view muscle growth, and it's actually going to be changing your body the fastest when it comes to strength and hypertrophy. So first off, we need to treat it like a video game because that is how we're going to be progressively overloading. When you treat the rings like it is a step-by-step process instead of just a muscle building tool, now you're starting to build muscle. Because how I use rings is basically go from beginner novice guy who never uses rings, who can't train with rings, to an advanced athlete who only uses them. And the reason why I want you to basically focus purely on the rings for like a couple of months straight is so that you are gonna be getting comfortable with them. And the moment you get comfortable with them is the moment you actually start to gain the most muscle with them. Why is that? Because the first time you're ever gonna be training with rings, you're not gonna be comfortable with it. You're not gonna be comfortable to do your push-ups, your pull-ups, your dips, your all types of variations, because there are endless variations that you can do with the rings. There is no limit. A lot of people think like, oh, rings, yeah, okay, you can do your muscle-ups on it, you can do your rows on it, and maybe your push-ups. They treat it like TRXs. But to be honest, the rings is a full gym that you can take with you in your gym bag anywhere you go. Hang it up on a tree, and you can train your full body the most effective way possible. But you're underestimating it. The moment you stop underestimating ring training is the moment when you're gonna, and you treat it like a video game, and you go from step 1 to step 2, and you go from doing your regular dips to doing deep dips to doing weighted ring dips, or let's say you take your chin up to twisting with your hands and doing chin ups, or doing pull-ups with extra range of motion by increasing the stretch at the bottom, or by widening up the rings, or by going behind the bar while you're doing ring pull-ups. These are all ways to progress from level 1 to level 2. Now, a lot of people, they treat it the wrong way. They immediately think that when you start rings that you're supposed to just gain muscle instantly because, oh, the stability is way harder and it's way more difficult, which is definitely true. But trust me, when you first start getting into ring training, don't expect muscle growth right away. You first have to get it right. A couple of months ago, a follower of mine who has been following me for years, he came over to my house and he started working out with me and a friend of mine. And we started training chest and back together. It was great. We started with ring push-ups. Now, my friend and I, who have been doing ring push-ups for quite some time, could do it just fine. But the guy who we invited, he was not used to ring training. So what happened? He was shaking and he was just trying to stabilize himself, which is perfect. That is what you should experience the first time you do it. The only problem is though, when you are at that level, you cannot expect gains right away. Why? Because you are still in the novice beginning stage where you need to learn how to properly activate the muscle that you're using. You need to learn how to stimulate it. So when you learn to get yourself in the control phase, so basically going from unstabilized rookie to becoming a more advanced athlete who can control himself on the rings, that is when you're going to be stimulating the muscle. You're not going to be stimulating the muscles if you're beginner forever. If you're a novice forever and you're going to be shaking forever and you're never going to be even getting 5 reps, I'm sorry, but the growth is going to be slower. So first, you should not treat this as a muscle building tool right away. You should treat this as an opportunity to gain muscle, but the opportunity takes some time. The opportunity is like a staircase, right? You need to view ring training as like a big staircase. Treat it as a video game or treat it like a staircase. Each and every single step is a small step towards you being able to do weighted ring dips or weighted ring pull-ups and muscle ups and being able to really build muscle with it. I am now in that stage because I have made a lot of steps with ring training. I have done a lot with it. I started with normal push-ups, then I started with dips. I started to just learn the rings. My first ever time doing ring push-ups and ring pull-ups was like 4 years ago. In the park. A friend of mine who I used to train with just brought his rings just for fun one time, right? He was doing a little bit of more ring training. That was my first ever time on rings. And I did not know what I was doing. I thought with my endurance and other style of calisthenics mindset that I had to just apply that to the rings. But I did not know that it was a whole nother game, a whole nother aspect of training, and a whole nother realm of progression. But that's the beautiful thing about it. So when you are a beginner and you treat it like a video game, as in you treat it like a real progression lifestyle, that is when you're starting to learn rings the best, and that is when you're also going to gain the most muscle. Now let's go into step number 2, and that is going to be, as I already kind of said in step number 1, spend time on mastering rings instead of trying to build muscle and progress. First off, we all need to focus on getting comfortable on the rings. So let's say you're doing 3 sets of 5 dips right now. If you're doing those 3 sets of 5 dips with literally a bunch of shaking and you can't really lock out, you can't really go deep because it just hurts too much, but you're sticking to the 3 sets of 5, instead of going to a little easier variation such as ring bench dips or doing ring dips with your feet actually still on the ground, or first doing ring incline push-ups, you're not really going to be building muscle that way. If you're going to be doing the most advanced variation, first things first, because you think, oh, that builds muscle. This guy on YouTube told me to do ring dips, so I'm just going to be doing ring dips. And I totally agree. That would be the most logical way of thinking and going about it. But in my opinion, the most effective way of doing it is first starting with easiest thing that you can do for a solid amount of reps. I'm not actually advising you to do about 5 to 8 reps and sitting in that strength rep range, right? I want you to go to the hypertrophy rep range. But how are you going to do that? You're going to do that by picking out a variation that you can do, a regression or progression that fits your level right now. So if you're shaking on 8 ring push-ups and the 8th rep is like fucked up and you're all uneven and you're shaking and you can't even go deep because it just hurts too much. You can't even lock out because you don't know how to properly yet. Go to an easier variation. Do, for example, ring knee push-ups so that a little bit less body weight is actually distributed over the entire movement, or use a easier variation even than that, and then start progressing with that exercise until you can do like a solid 12 reps with that while controlling yourself. Not just being able to do the 12 reps, but controlling yourself. As I referenced earlier with that story of the guy that came over to my house and started doing rings, he could do some ring dips and some ring push-ups, but the form was really off. The form was not really that good. The form could be way better. So, for example, like a guy like him, which is also, by the way, in the program, he would actually be better off by starting with the easiest variations, such as ring knee push-ups, and doing real good form with ring knee push-ups, and going extremely deep, pausing at the bottom, really trying to target his chest. When it comes to the pull-up, it's a little bit different because the pull-up, there's not no balance aspect because your body weight is hanging and it balances itself out. But sometimes it is actually very, very difficult to get used to ring pull-ups because on the regular bars, you're just fixed, right? You do pull-ups like this, the bar is fixed. But with rings, you can twist. And that actually becomes a lot more difficult because we're not used to, normal calisthenics athletes, they're not used to doing pull-ups and then twisting at the top and then even rotating forward so that you can get more squeeze. We're not used to that, right? But how do we get used to that? It's by first doing rows that way. Once we master the rows, now we're going to get into the pull-ups. And then once you have mastered these exercises and once you have set a good exercise selection for yourself, now you're going to be creating workouts with those exercise selections and choosing a progression pattern towards more mass. And that is exactly everything I laid out in the Jacked by Calisthenics Blueprint program, which is the top link in the description, where I'm going to be guiding you through the whole process. So if you do not know how to start yet, or if you actually don't know how to progress from the level that you are right now to a way more advanced level, the top link in the description is exactly for you. Every single program and module in in there is catered for you to go from skinny to jacked and from intermediate or beginner to advanced. So if you want that, the top link is in the description and I'll see you inside. Now let's go into step number 3, and this is very important. Choose a low volume approach. Now the reason why I chose a low volume approach with my ring training is because when it comes to my high rep endurance style calisthenics, which is what I used to do like way back in the time, right? Way back I used to do that side of training, which was amazing. That is how I learned to do the basic reps. That is why I preach push-ups, pull-ups, dips, and squats and rows so heavily. But I had to make a slight change when it comes to hypertrophy training with calisthenics and ring training. Now why is that? First off, on the rings, it's not going to work like that. When you're doing high rep push-ups where you can basically explode yourself off of the ground, and then you're gonna go to pull-ups and do like these crazy fast pull-ups, which is dope and cool and all, but on the rings, it's not gonna work the same way, my bro. It's gonna be a different way of doing the reps. You're gonna be having to control it. By the way, at first, you can't even do those fast as reps. I wasn't doing that for sure 4 years ago when I first started to do my first ring push-up, and 4 months ago when I started to really focus on my rings, I certainly wasn't doing no fast ass reps. I was trying to because that's what my mind was focused on, but that was the wrong approach. So I had to do a couple of things. One, I had to cut back the volume that I was doing. So usually I was doing a lot of high reps and a lot of high sets. I had to cut down the reps and I had to cut down the sets. That is because I was focusing on quality and not on quantity. With the rings, you want to focus on quality. Focus on doing the things absolutely perfect. And of course, like, you're not going to be doing it perfect like the first week, right? That's delusional. But guess what? After 2 weeks, you're going to suck still. After 3 weeks, you're going to suck a little less. But after 4 months or 5 months or half a year of doing this consistently, you're going to be pretty fucking good at it. But that is only if you choose a low volume approach with it and you start to master the exercise, which is what I've covered in the previous steps, and you start to actually cut down the reps so that you can do more quality. So the less sets you have, the more quality you can actually start to prioritize. I want you, when it comes to the push-up, focus on that depth, man. Focus on trying to keeping those arms tucked until you're at that bottom position where you rotate it out a little bit to get more stretch, and then you push it back up, bring the rings together like this. That is how you're going to get the most bang out of your butt. So if you want that, that is exactly what you should do. So I had to cut back my sets from doing 4 to 5 sets, which is what I usually would do, to like 2 to 3 sets. Right now, the max sets I usually use per every single exercise I do is 3 total sets, and that is it. And usually, by the way, it's 2 sets. But the reason why I right now do 2 to 3 sets instead of 5 sets is because I realized that the 5th set or the 4th set of ring push-up, especially if you're new to it, it's not going to be the same quality as the first 2 to 3 sets. And a lot of y'all would probably say like, okay, but even if it's not that good of a quality, you still got those sets in. Like, even though the quality are shit, you still got more in than if you would do 2 to 3 with just quality. Why not do 2 to 3 with quality and then 2 with just bullshit? That is also because of a couple of reasons. Number one, it's going to compromise your recovery, and who wants that, right? So if you're going to compromise your recovery, next training session, you will be able to do less, and over time, every single one of those 5 sets that you quote unquote like to do so much is going to consist out of 100% bullshit instead of 100% quality. So if you stick to 2 to 3 sets of pure quality and you prioritize that over anything else, you're going to build more muscle in the long run. That is basically what I'm trying to tell you here. Second reason, there's a big chance of you getting injured. If you're doing 5 sets of like the first 2 to 3 is pure quality, but because you also rest like not long at all, or else the workouts take way too long, you're going to go into the set again, and within the shortest amount of time, you're going to be fucking feeling something in your shoulder. You're going to be injured. You're going to be having some elbow issues. You're going to be having some wrist issues. And the reason why that is because you're doing too much of bullshit. Do less of bullshit and do more of the good shit. More does not equal more results. Doing better shit that you're already doing equals more results. So start prioritizing quality over quantity, especially when it comes to building muscle. Listen, man, a lot of people get this wrong, but the purpose of building muscle, the understanding of building muscle is basically you just need to kind of damage, right? You need to damage the muscle fibers that you are training. So when you're doing a push-up, the goal is to damage the chest. But you don't do that with bullshit. You don't do that with very low quality sets. Doing the reps does not mean that you're tearing down the muscle. Doing it with proper form, quality, actually doing the reps good, and actually stimulating your chest, so feeling it, making it feel extremely comfortable on your muscles and joints so that you can go far with it, that is what builds muscle. Not the bullshit reps that you try to do extra of because you think more is better. Now, let's go into the last step, and that's step number 4. Track your progress. A lot of people, the reason why they actually are not progressing as fast as they could is because they're not tracking the progress and they're not writing down the workouts. The next change that I want you to make, if you're going to be training today or tomorrow, grab a notebook, grab a pen, and write down what you're going to do. Do it even like right after this video. Grab a notebook and a pen right now. Track everything that you're going to do today or that you're going to do tomorrow if you have already trained. Write it down. Say to yourself, okay, I did 3 sets of push-ups today and 3 sets of pull-ups. Tomorrow, I want to be doing 3 sets of push-ups and pull-ups again, but the first set, I'm gonna go harder than I did today. And when you see this on your notebook, and every single time you can just flip it open and say, okay, this is what I did today. This is what I should do tomorrow. Okay, wait, yesterday I did 4 sets of dips, and the first set was 12 reps with 45 pounds. Let me now try for the first set, 13 reps. Fuck it, let me try it. Or let me now try, instead of 3 sets with 45 pounds, let me do it with 50 pounds. See how that goes. See how many reps I can get. And then the next set, you're gonna be matching the reps that you did with the 45 pounds. And that's how you're gonna be progressing. You should basically write down your workouts in order to basically see and reflect what you did earlier so that you can do better the next day. You gotta understand, calisthenics is all about progression, okay? It is all about progression of the exercises. Going from one level to another, going from A to B, going from, you know what I'm saying? Going from one variation to another variation. If you don't do that, what is there to gain? Nothing. You're just doing something repetitively over and over and over again. And we all know that a body adapts to certain things, right? So if you, for example, let's say you have push-ups and pull-ups, right? I like to give that reference because it's known exercises. Push-ups and pull-ups. The moment you start doing 10 pull-ups every single day for the rest of your life, after like week 2, if you're a beginner, nothing is gonna happen no more. After like probably week 1, the first week you'll be sore as shit, but the second week nothing will happen again. Why? Because your body now adapted. So the thing that you need to do is start prioritizing the progressive overload aspect of things. So instead of doing that, start prioritizing the rings, for example, and start twisting with your hands. Just make that change. But if you write that down, you will actually be able to see and know what steps to make instead of progressing too quickly and getting injured or not progressing at all. So now that you know exactly how I gain muscle with my rings and how you can do the same, I want to again see you inside my Jack by Calisthenics Blueprint program, which is where I'm going to be guiding you through the entire journey of you going from skinny to jacked within 6 months time. So if you want results like you see here on the screen, go ahead and go to the top link in the description and I'll see you inside. And also watch this video right here, because right here I'm going to be showing you the most effective way to train pool with rings and utilizing weights with it as well.